The NLAW anti-tank system, a harsh challenge in Ukraine. Britain's delivery of the NLAW anti-tank missile system to Ukraine and its active use against Russian tanks has stirred worldwide interest in this weapon. What is the NLAW? Will Ukrainians be able to effectively destroy T-72 and T-80 tanks, which have entered their country by the thousands? Let's assess the capabilities, pros, and cons of this weapon to give an objective answer. This anti-tank system has been under development by Swedish company Saab Bofors Dynamics since early 2001. It was to replace the obsolete NLAW 80 and FFV AT-4 grenade launchers. The military demanded an easy-to-use weapon that could withstand tanks and other armored vehicles as effectively as possible. No one concealed what kind of tanks those were going to be. Saab, without any blurbs as a typical target for its anti-tank system, depicts the Russian T-90, and in official publications, they write that the NLAW is an effective solution against the background of geopolitical instability around Europe. So when developing the NLAW, the capabilities and weaknesses of Russian tanks were taken into account, as well as the real conditions of modern, high-intensity combat. That is, the full-scale combat operations. That's what we're now witnessing in Ukraine. The requirements of ease of use and maximum effectiveness forced the designers to create a weapon with small dimensions and weight so that it could be used by one person. The effectiveness was achieved by minimizing the time from target detection to destruction, the passive aiming mode, so that the laser sensors on the tank would not detect the threat, and implementation of the shoot-and-forget principle. By the way, NLAW is an acronym for Next Generation Light Anti-Tank Weapon. This anti-tank system is a lightweight and new generation. What are its features? The developer of the NLAW consciously refused a thermal seeker. Such a thing, first of all, would have raised the cost of the anti-tank system, and secondly, the modern battlefield has a large number of false thermal signatures, such as already destroyed burning equipment in buildings. Instead of a thermal homing head, Saab used a rather interesting predicted line of sight mode, or PLOS for short. NLAW has no laser rangefinder or other laser systems. The gunner must point to the crosshairs and follow the target for 3 to 5 seconds. The electronics calculate the trajectory, range, and angular velocity, after which the trigger is released and the missile can be launched. The missile will fly to the calculated point of intersection of target and missile trajectories. This algorithm works even when the target is not fully visible, for example, only the tank turret or even its antenna. That is, it's important not to accompany the target in the crosshairs, but if for some reason the tank changes its trajectory, the missile will miss. In this respect, the NLAW system is more similar to handheld grenade launchers, which also have no homing head. And after launching the missile, the flight is not corrected by the operator in any way. However, the NLAW is more accurate against moving targets than handheld grenade launchers due to its electronics. With the latter, the shooter has to estimate the target velocity and choose the angles of preemptive action. The operator selects the attack mode of the target before firing. The NLAW has 2 options. The first one is a direct attack, which is more common for a rocket launcher, with the rocket propelled straight ahead along the line of sight, and the explosion is caused by a contact fuse. By the way, the NLAW has a tandem warhead weighing 1.8 kilograms, capable of penetrating armor equivalent of 500 millimeters of homogeneous steel at a distance of 800 meters. The second attack mode is more interesting: Overfly Top Attack. Let's add an important note. The attack is not just an overfly, but an overflight attack. That is, the missile does not change its trajectory as with the American FGM-148 Javelin. The Swedes have done things more simply. As soon as the missile is precisely over the target at the height of about a meter, a magnetic or optical sensor is triggered, which detonates the warhead. It's designed in such a way that in case of such detonation, the shaped charge is not formed along the axis of the missile, but perpendicular to it, i.e. it hits the target under the missile. In this case, not just a hollow projectile is formed, but the so-called impact core, a hollow projectile plus a tantalum projectile 102 millimeters in diameter, which is accelerated by this projectile to a speed of 1.5 to 2 kilometers a second. In this case, the armor penetration is 50 millimeters of homogeneous steel. In theory, this is enough to penetrate the armor of the tank's upper turret hemisphere. A similar target engagement scheme is successfully used in the American BGM-71 TOW-2 anti-tank system. The developer ensured that there would be no false positives when there are other metal objects in the line of flight of the missile that the magnetic sensor would detect. For example, there's a downed tank at 50 meters and the real target is 150 meters away. In this case, it's necessary to switch the range scale to the target to 100 meters. Then the missile will fly over the first, already destroyed object, and then start searching for the target. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of the NLAW anti-tank system. Besides the ease of use, the unquestionable advantage of the complex is its weight and size, 12.5 kilograms and 1 meter in length. That makes it easy to carry and fire from the shoulder. Moreover, the NLAW launcher is disposable, and after the shot is fired, it can be left behind instead of being lugged around like the Javelin. Thanks to the Overfly Top Attack mode, the NLAW missile can attack targets that are almost hidden from the operator. For example, located behind a wall, fence, etc. The main thing is that the operator should see at least some element of the target. The undoubted advantage of the NLAW is its ability to attack the target from a distance as close as 20 meters. The Javelin has a minimum range of 150 meters, which is due to the slide that the missile makes during its flight. Such a steep climb makes it necessary to find a launching point without power lines and other similar obstacles on the missile's trajectory. For a gentle NLAW trajectory, these restrictions do not exist. However, before the launch, one has to take into account that the target should not go over obstacles more than 4 to 5 meters high, like trees or buildings. Although given the flight time of the missile, even at 600 meters in 3 seconds, it's not that big of a deal. By the way, at 200 meters, the NLAW missile flies for only 1 second. In direct launch mode, it allows no to take an air. Another advantage is the soft start. The rocket of the complex is 2-stage. The first stage operates only during the rocket's movement through the transport and launch container and accelerates it at 40 meters per second, after which it separates from the rocket. To reduce the exhaust temperature, there's a capsule with a special saline liquid that mixes with the hot powder gases of the first stage, which allows the missile to be launched from a small volume room and greatly reduces the dangerous distance behind the launch container when fired. At a safe distance from the grenade launcher, about 4 meters, the second stage engages and accelerates the missile to about 200 meters a second. For example, the main Russian RPG-28 Cranberry grenade launcher with similar dimensions, weight, and armor penetration, when launched, leaves behind a flare of up to 65 meters long. The NLAW is therefore ideal for urban combat when distances to targets rarely exceed a few hundred meters, and sometimes you have to shoot at point-blank range. The NLAW is often fired from small rooms, and the enemy tank may be hiding behind a pile of rubble bricks or fences. This system can also be fired from the upper floors of buildings. The manufacturer's stipulated angles of inclination of the launch tube, plus or minus 45 degrees. In the video, you can see the real application of NLAW on the Russian T-72 tank in the conditions of urban combat in Mariupol. Also, the rejection of the thermal imaging head led to another rather unobvious plus of the NLAW. The NLAW's on-off cycles, as well as its total runtime, are limited only by the battery. The same Javelin has a thermal homing head that's cooled with argon at the launcher before the launch and must be replaced after each activation. It lasts, by the way, according to the statistics, for 4 minutes, during which the shot should be made. The final advantage is cost. In 2022, one NLAW anti-tank system cost $37,000, and one FGM-148 Javelin is $246,000. But on the other hand, conventional grenade launchers like the German Panzerfaust 3 IT-600, with a range of 600 meters on stationary targets and 300 meters on moving targets, and armor penetration of 700 millimeters, costs only $5,000. But it cannot be used in small confined spaces. So which is better, one FGM-148 Javelin or 6 NLAWs or 49 Panzerfaust 3 IT-600s? We answer that troops should be equipped with several types of anti-tank weapons. At a distance of up to 5 kilometers, the Javelin will do a good job. In close combat, the enemy's armored vehicles can be showered with inexpensive Panzerfaust 3 IT-600, and from the ambushes in the windows and doors of the houses, it's possible to attack with the NLAW. If we talk about Ukraine, we can see from the example of Mariupol that the Ukrainian troops use the tactics of besieged fortresses, pulling the maximum number of troops into the city and defending there. Under these conditions, the Swedish NLAW anti-tank system will show its maximum effectiveness. Well, we just have to wait for the results. The Russian-Ukrainian war is the toughest test of various weapons in the last few decades. What do you think about this war and the use of NATO weapons in it? In particular, the NLAW anti-tank system. Write about it in the comments below. If you've enjoyed our video, please like it so more people can see it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so as to not miss new videos about modern weapons and their use in armed conflicts.